So I want to talk about these 4 Russian aircraft that were shot down by their own air defenses on Saturday. Now, this took place in the Bryansk region of Western Russia, and it's near the Ukrainian border. The aircraft that were shot down include a Su-34 fighter bomber jet, a Su-35 fighter jet, and 2 Mi-8 transport helicopters. Russia is saying there potentially was some sort of sabotage, and they're investigating. I want to talk about why there is an unprecedented fratricide incident. I mean, we just don't see modern militaries have friendly fire incidents like this, where 4 aircraft in the span of 24 hours get shot down. And I want to talk about why I believe this to be the case, why this is happening for the Russians. So the first thing is the Storm Shadow missile is entering the battlefield. This is a missile that I talked about in some previous videos, and it's incredibly capable. So good on you, France and United Kingdom, for developing such a great piece of equipment with a 97% success rate in highly defended territory, with air defenses operational, still achieving a very high rate of success. But there is a secondary weapon, and it's not really a weapon, but there's a secondary system that the Russians are now contending with, and we've seen evidence of them being deployed to Ukraine, and this is called the miniature air-launched decoy. And compounding that with the Storm Shadow, with its longer range and the ability to spoof or mimic other aircraft with these MALD missiles, these decoy missiles, is probably causing a lot of chaos and a lot of nervousness on the Russian side. So what is this miniature air-launched decoy? Well, it's designed by Raytheon and developed by the United States, obviously, and it's designed to deceive enemy air defenses by mimicking the radar signatures and flight profiles of U.S. and allied aircraft. It has a programmable set of aircraft that it can mimic, everything from F-15s, F-18s, B-2 bombers to our allied aircraft, which includes allied use of things like MiGs or Su aircraft, which is what the Ukrainians use. Now, the goal of the MALD is to confuse and dilute enemy air defenses so that manned aircraft can penetrate more effectively, and I'm going to show a video of how this works. By imitating the radar cross-section of aircraft, these decoys can create fake targets, forcing enemy radars to track multiple objects and expend their munitions unnecessarily on these fake missiles. Here's some key features of this decoy. It has about a 500-mile range, but it also can fly very fast. It can fly at near supersonic speeds, which matches the characteristics of aircraft it's imitating. It makes no sense if you're trying to mimic an F-18 and you can't fly at the same speed an F-18 usually would be flying if it was conducting a mission. It also is autonomous, so once launched, it follows a pre-programmed flight path using GPS, and the pilot who launches it doesn't have to maintain both his aircraft and flying this missile. Now, on top of that, the U.S. has developed the MALD-J, which take all of the greatness of the decoy missile I just talked about, but add jamming capability to it. It not only mimics the flight profiles of U.S. and allied aircraft, but also jams radar signals, adding another layer of confusion for enemy air defenses. So I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like. So right now we see a bunch of enemies popping up. This is the target for what is going to be a sortie to destroy this target. Surrounding this target is going to be air defenses, enemy air defense capable platforms, including ships, ship-based air defenses. Now, I'm going to pause it right here because you see the makeup of this sortie or this mission. You have ISR assets. These are usually AWACS or some other variant of detection capable aircraft, and ISR stands for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. What these aircraft do is they find the targets because they have very powerful radars and detection equipment, and they relay the information to other aircraft. Additionally, when these fighters or the bombers show or turn on their radar, it exposes them. So the ability of our assets outside of air defense range, picking up targets and relaying the information, it keeps the kinetic part of this mission safe. What is out in front here are the MALDs, the decoy missiles, and the decoy jamming missiles. What you're about to see is some of these missiles will turn into F-15s in blue. Now, they don't obviously turn into actual F-15s, but they are mimicking the profile of F-15s. So it forces enemy air defenses to start to scan them or to target them and try to shoot them down, thinking that these are actual air assets coming to attack. Meanwhile, these assets back here, the actual fighters and attack aircraft coming in to conduct the mission, are safe at this point. So you see the ships engage, it's ineffective. And then here, because their radars are turned on, their missiles are launching, it allows all of the assets to identify the targeting. These aircraft can fire their missiles without actually targeting them because the aircraft up here is, again, relaying the information to them. So the radars are not on. Everyone is focused on the enemy side, is focused on these spoofing missiles, these MALDs. The MALD-GAs, which you see here, no, that's a harm, but what you see here are jamming. So what the aircraft are shooting are joint standoff weapons, or HARMs, which stands for high-speed anti-radiation missiles. The joint standoff weapons often are used to fire well outside of range of anti-aircraft capability, and they're guided by the ISR assets. This is an incredibly sophisticated system the U.S. fields. As you see, the standoff weapons destroy the ships. Meanwhile, the ground-based air defenses start targeting the decoys. HARM missiles are used to destroy the air defenses as they identify themselves by turning on their radars, and it leaves the target completely open and defenseless. This is absolutely a devastating attack for any enemy, and the United States is the only country that fields something like this. In fact, the United States has been working on this for 2 decades now. This program started in the late 90s, in 1996 or 99, I believe. So this is what has Russians nervous. This is why they are nervous. Not only are they contending with a highly effective Storm Shadow missile, which has a very long range and is very effective in destroying targets, and they're now contending with being spoofed by mimicking missiles. Missiles that can mimic things like a Ukrainian fighter, which happens to be very similar to Russian fighters because Ukraine and Russia use the same MiGs, they use the same aircraft. So when the Russians see aircraft on being picked up, they become very trigger happy because they don't know who it is. It could be one of these spoofed missiles. It could be an actual Ukrainian, or it could be a decoy missile. It could be an actual Ukrainian fighter. They don't know. So unless they communicate, which we've seen that their communications are absolutely trash, they fire on things that spook them. They're very trigger happy because, frankly, they don't want one of these Storm Shadow missiles being shoved up their ass and blowing them all up. And so between the decoy capability that the United States is providing Ukraine, the intelligence the United States is providing to Ukraine, as well as these longer range missiles, the Storm Shadow, Russia has a lot to worry about, and there's a lot of chaos on the battlefield. So obviously it's making the air defense systems trigger happy, and they're now shooting down their own people.